Rabbi Manis Friedman, hello. Thank God it's Tuesday. Happy Hanukkah. And of course, the conversation is going to be about Hanukkah, as I just told our audience in Russian. We're
You
supposed
speak good Russian.
Thank you. I try. I learned it recently. um, Hanukkah is a holiday of lights, and we light the menorah to bring light into the world. And, we are trying so hard to bring as much light as possible. We drive around the streets with a menorah on top of the cars. We put the menorahs on the windowsill so people can see and get happy through this illumination. Yet I got to tell you, when I look at my neighbor's house, his house illuminates everything from Earth to Mars. I cannot compete with the illumination of his home. He's got lights all over the place, and he is not the only one. If we drive down the streets, there's no way we can compare menorah to the Christmas tree in Times Square. So there's definitely a lot more lights that are brought visually by the holiday that is not Hanukkah, yet we're bringing the light. How can we understand it better? Is there a different kind of light? It's not the size that matters?
Not the size. Yeah, definitely not. Sometimes, when you see an extravagant display of something, it makes you wonder whether it's real. Like they're trying too hard. A person trying too hard to convince you about something sounds like he's not convinced himself. So if you protest too much, makes you suspicious, makes everybody suspicious that maybe you are guilty after all. So yeah, overdoing is a sign of weakness, not of greatness.
Not of
So
happiness that people are trying to share.
a whole lot of light almost feels desperate. Like it'll never be enough. It'll never be enough. The darkness will always be greater than the light. When you light your little Hanukkah menorah, there's no need to. And we once talked about this, I think. What is the difference between the sun and the moon? The Torah says that God created the sun to work during the day, and He created the moon to work during the night, which is a fascinating subject in itself. Day and night already exist before there's a moon and a sun. So the sun shines during the day. The sun doesn't make it day. And the moon shines during the night. The moon obviously doesn't make it night. But they're both luminaries. So the sun illuminates during the day, and the moon illuminates the night. Well, if that's the case, then the moon isn't doing a very good job. First of all, it keeps disappearing. Like, who can do that on their job? You disappear for a few days every month, you get fired immediately. And secondly, even when it is full, it's still dark. It's night. Not as dark as it would be without the moon, but to say that the moon illuminates the night? Schwach. How do you say that in Russian?
About the same.
Very little, very little. The idea of it is this. The sun shines during the day. It's not there to make the day. It's there to illuminate the day, which means to help you appreciate daytime. The moon shines during the night, not to chase away the night, to help you appreciate the beauty of the darkness. And in that, the moon does a very good job. It's so romantic. Darkness means things that are not said, that are not visible, that are not obvious. And that's why most romance happens at night. It's a time for expressing feelings that words and vision can't. It goes beyond what you can see and beyond what you can say. So the moon or the sun is considered masculine, and the moon is considered feminine. Because women are much better at the unspoken, at the subtle. If you have to say it, not so good. If it needs words, then it's already compromised. If it's what you see with your eyes, then you're not seeing deep enough. Those things that the eye does not see and the words can't express, the moon illuminates and shows us the beauty of what is hidden. Instead of thinking that hidden is a failure or a curse, that night is scary, the moon shows you, no, dark is beautiful. Silent says so much. It's like the sounds of silence. That's the moon. The beauty of the night, the music of the night. Because light, although it's very useful, it can be glaring, it can be garish, talking about too many lights. It becomes a little offensive after a while because it's so unromantic. It's so blatant, it's so glaring. It's in your face, which sometimes is perfect. That's exactly what I need. When I'm driving, darkness and romance is not what I need. I need to see the road and I need to see what's happening in front of me. But there are times when seeing is not helpful. It cheapens. It actually destroys. Because you see something and it's exciting, and you see it again, it's not as exciting. And the third, fourth, fifth time, it's becoming kind of dull and boring. And 10, 11 time, it's becoming distasteful. Enough already. So the little candle that shines during the night has a special meaning and a special feeling, and it's not meant to chase away the night. You don't have to have so many bulbs that you don't even realize that it is nighttime. That is not the purpose of the candle. The purpose of the candle in Golus, in exile, is to show the beauty of exile, not to end it. So it's more like wisdom than brilliance. There are brilliant people who have no wisdom.
Rabbi,
I,
Rabbi Friedman, you said the beauty of exile. Is there a beauty to exile? Then what are we not seeing? Because we're praying for exile to end.
that's the beauty of it. The beauty of the exile is that it increases your appetite for closeness. Come on, that's romantic, right? The appetite for closeness. Golus makes us want closeness to God. In the times of the temple, the Beit HaMikdash, people got a little too familiar. You have a problem? Yeah, no problem. We'll go to Yerushalayim, we'll run to the Beit HaMikdash, we'll bring a sacrifice, a little goat, and everything will be great. The closeness was lost. The romance was lost. It became too technical. Oh, you think you did a sin and you want to be forgiven? No problem. Bring a goat. Bring a goat? That's closeness? If you feel the closeness and you express it in a meal, a goat, a lamb chop, or whatever, uh, then it means something. But if there's no closeness, what is a goat? By people in New York who park where they're not allowed to park. And you ask them, why are you doing that? It's illegal. They say, so I'll pay the fine. I can't afford to go looking for a parking space. It's more convenient and more financially responsible to pay the fine. So you're paying the fine, you're following the rules, but you don't follow rules. The rules don't mean anything to you. So that is the beauty of exile. When we're far from God, we get homesick. Homesick is beautiful.
So, why is it getting worse now? Because obviously everybody's feeling it more and more, this pain of exile. Why is this happening to us now, especially?
Well, in homesickness, there are two sides. There's the fact that you're not home, and that hurts. But then there's the longing to be home, which is beautiful, which feels warm, alive. We're now at that crossroad. We're feeling very much the distance, how far the world is from the truth. Not just us. The world is so far from truth. And that makes us yearn for the truth more. So which is more intense? The feeling of what's missing or the warmth of the thought of going home? Until recently, the feeling of what was missing was the stronger feeling. And so we were very responsible, blaming ourselves, complaining about how long it's been. Since October 7th, something changed. Yes, the darkness is still there, and the distance is still there. In fact, in some way, the world is further from the truth than ever. And yet, the homesickness, the thought of going home, has become stronger. Jews are dancing in the streets everywhere. Every time Jews get together these days, they end up dancing, not sitting on the ground with ash on their head. And there's plenty of reason for that. We have plenty of reason to grieve and mourn and complain and kvetch. Plenty of reason, legitimate reason. And yet, look what's going on. All you need is to look at a pro-Palestinian protest and a pro-Israel protest. Just look at the difference. It's unbelievable. One is angry, vile, threatening, hateful. And the other one, dancing, singing, Life is great. Being a Jew is great. Am Yisrael Chai. Are we a little out of our mind or something?
Well, our soldiers are going to fight with songs and dancing as well,
Yes.
which is probably crazy.
Are we living in denial? I mean, what's going on? That homesickness is now stronger than the absence, the distance. We're going home. We're going home. We're not home. We know that. We feel that very strongly, but we are going home. So you dance. That's the beauty of the night. We're not saying there's no night, but we see how the night is making us so much more receptive, so much more sensitive, so much more aware that it's taking us home. That's the feminine side of creation. That's Mashiach. So I guess Mashiach is a feminine response. What is unique about the feminine response? In the masculine world, unless something is wrong and needs fixing, there's nothing to get excited about. When a man asks another man, "How's everything?" and he says, "Fine," that's it, the end of the conversation. Everything's fine? Everything? Okay, then there's nothing to talk about. The feminine reaction is, everything is fine? That is so good. That is so exciting. To a man, it's like, oh, so then what is there to do? Don't tell me everything's fine. That's boring. When Mashiach comes, everything will be fine. Men are not going to know what to do. That's it? Everything's fine? How about tomorrow? Will there be some problems tomorrow? No. How about next week? No. Oh my God, then what are we doing? There's nothing left to do.
Rabbi Friedman,
A mother looks at a baby when the baby is sleeping. Everything's great. The father says, "Baby sleeping? Good, let's go do something." The mother says, "No, I just want to sit here with the baby." So, well, why? The baby's sleeping. Everything's good. What are you sitting there for? Let's go do something before the baby wakes up.
Rabbi Friedman, but what is this magic of Hanukkah? It's true. Every year the same thing happens. Um, don't really prepare for Hanukkah that much. It just kind of like comes around, and then and we're a little bit in a funk because there hasn't been any holidays for a while, and it's winter, and it's a little gloomy, and usually the world dishes something out to us that makes us upset. So and then Hanukkah comes, and you think, okay, so Hanukkah is here, so big deal, and every year the same thing. For some reason, this holiday does bring happiness. It somehow just makes you happy. What is the secret of Hanukkah? How does it do that? Why?
That's interesting. Kabbalistically, Hanukkah is the final conclusion of Rosh Hashanah. I mean, we all know that Rosh Hashanah is just the beginning. Then comes Yom Kippur, and then comes Sukkot, and then comes Simchas Torah. And we think Simchas Torah is the final celebration when we conclude the Rosh Hashanah experience. And on some level, that's true. But on a deeper level, It's really not concluded until Hanukkah. So, like you say, there hasn't been a holiday in a long time. Rosh Hashanah is, a distant memory. Simchas Torah, we've settled down and it feels empty and cold. And then Hanukkah comes and says, no, 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 no. Now let's finish what we started on Rosh Hashanah. So 50 years ago, it took months until Hanukkah to get over Yom Kippur. So that year, Yom Kippur didn't end until Hanukkah. And until Hanukkah, we were in a very Yom Kippur mood. This year, since the holidays don't end until Hanukkah, we've been Simchas Torah since the attack on Simchas Torah. So it's not just Hanukkah, it's Hanukkah on top of all the holidays that came before. So it does have that power. But to be really historically correct, Hanukkah wasn't much when I was growing up. The Rebbe turned it into a massive holiday. He revived it. He pumped life into it. He enlarged the menorah like 600%. The Rebbe reclaimed or reinvented Hanukkah. And now Hanukkah is a major holiday, not just a substitute for Christmas.
Rabbi Friedman, but every holiday we find something that connects us to the holiday. Hanukkah for a lot of people is just basically lighting the menorah. Not for everybody it's the same way, just little candles here, there, a few presents, few latkes, some donuts, and we're done. But can you tell us how to connect to Hanukkah? What is the best way to connect to the holiday of Hanukkah, to understand the greatness of this holiday, to really really feel it, not towards the middle or somewhere once it's already starts, but how to anticipate it, how to really get this very special, exciting feeling about this holiday, because it's sort of like it. I don't want to say it creeps up, but it kind of just comes around.
Well, part of the reason that it doesn't feel like a real holiday is because we're allowed to go to work. We're not taking off from work like we do on Pesach or Sukkot or certainly Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah. So it feels like a weekday with a candle added or an oily latke. So it doesn't feel like a real holy day. It's just that on this weekday, we have a special mitzvah of lighting the menorah. But essentially, it's a weekday. The Rebbe explains that when a holy day can happen, and you don't have to dress differently, and you don't have to take off from work, and you're allowed to do the same things you did the day before and the day after, what kind of holiness is that? So it might appear that it's a lesser holiness. Hanukkah is not as holy as Yom Kippur. That seems pretty obvious. But if Hanukkah is the conclusion of Yom Kippur, then it must be higher. Because conclusion means one step further, not backwards. So if you can experience holiness in your weekday clothes and in your weekday activity, that is a greater holiness than the one that prevents you or forbids you from doing natural things. Well, let's put it in different words. Every holiday is a miracle. During a holiday, we are aware of things that you don't see, that you can't do physically. In other words, there's a huge gap between the weekday and the holy. There's a huge gap between the natural and the miraculous. The miraculous is holy, natural is ordinary. We need to celebrate the holy and the supernatural, because if not, we'll forget and we'll start to think that the natural is the only reality. So having holidays is a reminder that nature is not the truth. You stop doing all the things that are natural, you separate yourself from the world of nature, and you discover there's a life there too. And it's nicer, more enjoyable, more beautiful. So you have this dichotomy, the world of holiness and the world of nature. Hanukkah means there is no dichotomy. Why do you have to dress differently in order to recognize the other reality? Nature itself, normal human activity, can itself be holy or miraculous. Miracle means the truth behind what appears to be true. Every miracle is really natural, but it's the real nature that we don't always see. The Greeks came and attacked the Jews who were not militant, who didn't have a standing army ready to fight, because we were busy lighting candles in a Beis Hamikdash. We were being spiritual. And they came along and they attacked, and they were far more experienced and they were much greater in number. And they had all the great heavy duty ammunition like war elephants. And who was fighting against them? Who was standing up to them? A handful of holy people. Most Jews were not against the Greeks. They had been Hellenized. They liked the Greek culture. They weren't fighting it. So you couldn't turn to them to join the army. So it was just the Maccabees. The Maccabees won. Oh, that's a miracle. Yeah, it is. If you're looking from the point of nature. If you're a naturalist, whatever that means, if you live in nature and you see a small group of people win a war against a huge army, you have to say this is miraculous. But what's right and what is true? People who worship God in the temple or people who want to bring pigs into the temple and desecrate it, make a mockery of it? Obviously, the truth is with the people who know how to serve God in a Beis Hamikdash. So that those who know how to serve God are victorious over those who don't. Why is that a miracle? That's the way it should be. That's the truth. So every miracle is really the way things ought to be. not extra special. That's the way it ought to be. And the question is, why isn't it always like that? So which one is more natural? Nature or the supernatural? The supernatural is more natural. So every time we see a miracle, we are discovering the true nature, because the nature that we're familiar with is not the real nature. Just like if you look at a piece of wood, you think, "Oh, that's natural. That's wood." But then you put it under a microscope. That doesn't look like wood at all. It looks like air. There's more empty space than there is wood in the wood. So which one is the true nature of wood? The one you see every day with your eyes, or the one you see under a microscope? When you see it under a microscope, you say, "Oh my God, that's miraculous. That is so strange. That is so..." No, that's the real nature of wood. So what does it mean to celebrate a miracle? To celebrate a miracle means you're seeing the real truth of nature itself. So why do you have to dress differently? Why do you have to eat different foods? Why do you have to stay home from work? Do whatever you're doing, but look through the microscope. And you'll see that nature is one continuous, huge miracle. So the holiness of Hanukkah, because it is still permitted to do work, is greater than those holidays where, look, if you want to be holy, you got to stay home from work. If you want to feel something special, you got to eat special, dress special, think special, prepare special. I mean, Pesach, the preparation is bigger than the holiday.
Yeah, soon enough.
Whoops, not so much. What do you got to do? Find your chauffeur? I'm sorry, that's Rosh Hashanah. But Shavuos, what do you need to do? There's no preparation. But you're not allowed to work, and you're not allowed to carry, you're not allowed to cook, and you're not allowed to work. You can't handle money. You can't. Otherwise, you won't feel the holiness. Hanukkah says, do whatever you want to do. You'll feel the holiness. You'll see the light. So that's a greater holiness in some way. So I was just speaking about this yesterday on Long Island. When the oil lasted 8 days, that was a miracle, because it was only enough for one day. If oil that can only burn for one day lasts for 8 days, you think it could last for 9? I mean, once you're beyond nature, why is it more of a miracle that it lasted 8 days than that it lasted 2 days? It was only enough for one day. If it lasts 2 days, it is the biggest miracle. Oh, but it lasted 3 days. Does that make the miracle bigger? Not really. Once you're beyond the limit of one day, what new limit are you putting on it? It was only enough for one day. Okay, 2 days, but not 3. No, 2 days is impossible. And once you're into the impossible, once you get 2 days, so you can have 3, 4, 5, whatever. There's no count anymore. So really, it lasted 8 days because at the 8th day they had new oil. But if it took a week to get the oil, then we would have celebrated a week, 7 days. Took 8 days, so we celebrate 8 days. And if it took 8 months, we would celebrate 8 months because the oil would last 8 months. So the oil, instead of being one day's oil, it became the oil for as long as the mitzvah needs it. How long can that be? Oh, 2,000 years. We're still lighting Hanukkah candles. The oil has lasted 2,000 years. So really, you have to answer this question. They celebrated because their oil lasted for 8 days. Why are we celebrating? But you can say, we're celebrating coming out of Egypt because, like it says in the Haggadah, if God hadn't taken our forefathers out of Egypt, we would still be there. So yes, it's our holiday. It affects us. Why do we celebrate Shavuos? God didn't give us the Torah. We weren't there. Yeah, but now we have the Torah, and if Shavuos hadn't happened, today we wouldn't have a Torah. So yes, it's our holiday. So if we're celebrating the Greeks couldn't destroy Judaism, oh, that's good for us. That's why we still have Judaism. But we're not celebrating the victory over the Greeks. We're celebrating the oil. Well, what benefit do we have that their oil lasted 8 days? How does that affect us? So that their oil lasted 8 days, good for them. What am I celebrating? I'm celebrating because their oil lasted? What, that's doesn't make sense. If we're celebrating, it must mean that we're affected. How are we affected by their 8-day miracle? So it must mean the 8 day is just a technicality. We were lifted above nature, and we still are. So that miracle put us in a new place. 8 days, 10 days, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, that's not the issue. The issue is we broke out of the limits of nature. And since then, our survival has been one continuous miracle. Not only our physical survival, our spiritual survival. Years ago, we put a sukkah on Sukkot. We put a sukkah in downtown Minneapolis on the mall, shopping mall, outdoor shopping mall. We put up this big sukkah, and to seat 40. And it was the centennial. It was 1976. And everyone was so conscious of their age. Like every business since 1902, since 1846, since everybody was celebrating their age. So we put up a sign saying 3,300 and some years. The non-Jews who walked in and they said, "You've been doing this for 3,300 years?" Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. That you're still alive? Okay, that's pretty miraculous. But you're still doing what you used to do? And knowing our history, there's no way that can possibly be maintained. Thrown from country to country, almost destroyed once and again, and you haven't forgotten who you are and how you do things and what you do and you're still doing it. That's Hanukkah.
Rabbi Friedman, I gotta also say something. If people are not watching our program, which they can, of course, through many different channels, and I certainly recommend everybody to check it out on Facebook and YouTube. I want to say that as we've been speaking, the light has taken over your face completely.
Yeah, the sun is creeping up.
But I don't believe in any kind of coincidences like we never do. And we're speaking about Hanukkah for the past 45 minutes. And as we speak, the light just takes over and over and over. And
I'm getting sunburned here on this side.
so we're getting a miracle of Hanukkah right here during our program. And also, there's no coincidence that my favorite day, my favorite program, thank God it's Tuesday. It's called because it's on Tuesday, also falls on the fifth candle of Hanukkah, which is the most, well, considered to be one of the most special candles that has a lot of meaning to it. And Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. Thank you for the wisdom, for. Not yet. Can't override the program either. Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. You gave us so many absolutely interesting insights that I was not able to research or read anywhere. And I think they are just phenomenal and inspiring. And I think something that really elevates us and takes us to the next level. Thank you so much. You are doing it to us every single. Thank God it's Tuesday, and everything that you do on your YouTube channel and your lectures and on itsgoodtoknow.org is amazing, and all the work that Beis Hana does, which I am a part of every single day, is absolutely incredible. It's elevating, it's strengthening, it's inspirational, and it's really something that doesn't help just an individual person. It just helps whatever we get, we spread it around, and that's, I think, the whole idea of where we're at this stage of life. So thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do for all of us.
Thank you for making it possible.
Thank you, Rabbi Friedman, and happy Hanukkah.
To you too. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.